The sting of a hornet hurts 10 times more than that of a wasp. But the real reason why the law forbids you from killing it has nothing to do with the pain. Hi, this is Tomas Zielnicki, and this is World Without a Filter, a channel where we dive so deep into nature that sometimes it gives you chills. Today we are going to talk about an animal that most of you either hate or are terrified of. About the hornet, about this huge, buzzing creature that looks as if someone designed it for a horror movie. Except the hornet is not any movie fiction. It is very much real. It lives here in Poland, and perhaps right now it is sitting on your balcony or under the roof of your gazebo. And today I'm going to tell you something that will probably surprise you. The hornet is not your enemy. In fact, it is one of the most useful creatures you can encounter in your garden. But before we get to why you should let it live, we first need to honestly say what we are really dealing with, because underestimating the hornet would be a huge mistake. Most people think that a hornet is simply a large wasp, a wasp that gained a little weight, went to the gym, and looks more threatening. But that is roughly as accurate as saying that a tiger is simply a big cat. Technically it is correct, but in practice, it is a completely different world. So let us break it down factor by factor, number by number, fact by fact. Let us start with what catches the eye the most, that is the size. An ordinary common wasp measures roughly from 12 to 17 millimeters. It is that yellow and black insect that in summer circles above your dinner plate and does not want to fly away no matter what you do. You can wave, blow, beg, threaten, and it still hovers around your plate as if it paid for the apartment. The European hornet, in Latin Vespa crabro, measures from 25 to 35 millimeters. The queen can grow up to 40 millimeters. Put an ordinary wasp on the table and next to it a hornet, and you will see the difference immediately. The hornet is roughly twice as large, and that does not mean only twice as long. It means a clearly more massive body, stronger wings, and above all, a significantly larger head with mandibles that can crush the chitinous armor of another insect. When a hornet flies next to you, you hear it. It is not the thin, irritating buzzing of a wasp. It is a deep, low hum that you feel almost in your chest. The very sight of a hornet up close clearly tells you that this is not some annoying fly. This is a predator. But size is only the beginning. Let us look at what interests most people the most: the stinger and the venom. A wasp has a stinger roughly 2.5 millimeters long. A hornet has a stinger that can reach a length of even 6 millimeters. That is more than double. And here's an important detail that many people do not know. The hornet's stinger is smooth, just like a wasp's, which means that unlike a bee, after stinging, the hornet does not pull out the stinger together with its innards. A hornet can sting you multiple times, once, twice, 3 times calmly, 10 times in a row if it feels threatened. A bee stings once and dies. It is its one-time weapon. A wasp stings once or twice and usually flies away. A hornet can attack again and again until it assesses the situation as safe. Think about it. This is not a one-time shot of pain. This is a potential series of strikes, each carrying a full dose of venom. And now the composition of that venom. Here we come to why a hornet sting is such an unforgettable experience. The venom of the European hornet contains a mixture of substances that together act like a small chemical bomb. We find acetylcholine in it, a neurotransmitter that after penetrating the tissue causes intense pain. There is histamine, which triggers an allergic reaction and swelling. There is kinin, which dilates blood vessels and intensifies the inflammatory response. And then there is phospholipase and hyaluronidase, enzymes that literally break down cell membranes and connective tissue. This is called the cytolytic effect. The hornet's venom actively dissolves cells in the area of the sting. It does not just irritate, it does not just burn. It breaks down tissue at the cellular level. That is why a hornet sting is so painful and why it leaves such serious swelling. The site of the sting can swell to the size of a golf ball and stay that way for days. Folk wisdom says that 7 hornet stings kill a horse and 3 kill a human. This is of course an exaggeration, but there is a grain of truth in it. For a healthy adult, 1 hornet sting is very unpleasant, but usually not life-threatening. The problem arises with allergy sufferers, small children, elderly people, or people who receive many stings at once. In such cases, anaphylactic shock can occur, which, without prompt medical help, can indeed be life-threatening. There is something called the Schmidt pain scale, It was created by the American entomologist Justin Schmidt, who allowed himself to be stung by dozens of different species of hymenopteran insects and rated each sting on a scale from 1 to 4. 1 is mild pain, something barely noticeable. 4 is something you would not wish on anyone. Pain so intense that for a moment you lose the ability to think rationally. The common wasp received a 2 on the Schmidt scale. It is described as sharp but short pain, something like slamming your finger in a door. Unpleasant but bearable, and passes quickly. The European hornet received a 2 as well, which sounds similar, but Schmidt himself added that the intensity, and above all the duration of the pain, is clearly longer with the hornet. Pain after a wasp sting usually passes within a few minutes. You could say it is a sharp flash that fades almost as quickly as it appeared. Pain after a hornet sting can last for hours. Some people describe that the site of the sting is sensitive and painful to the touch for several days after the incident. And if we looked at the Asian giant hornet Vespa mandarinia, it received a rating approaching 3 on the Schmidt scale. The Japanese call it Suzume bachi, which means sparrow bee, because it is so huge that it resembles a small bird. One researcher described its sting as a red-hot nail being driven into your body. Imagine that description. Not a prick, not a burn, a red-hot nail driven into living flesh. Fortunately, this species does not live in Poland. But even our native European hornet deserves enormous respect. Let us summarize this in a direct comparison so that it is completely clear. Wasp. Body length about 15 millimeters, stinger 2.5 millimeters, Schmidt scale 2. Hornet. Body length about 30 millimeters, stinger up to 6 millimeters. Schmidt scale 2, but with clearly longer duration of pain and stronger swelling. As for the amount of venom, a wasp injects from 2 to 15 micrograms in one sting. A hornet injects about 50 micrograms in one sting. Some sources say even 100 micrograms in larger individuals. That is 5 to 10 times more compared to a wasp. 5 to 10 times. Not double, not triple. Between 5 and 10 times the dose of venom, and in addition, the hornet is faster. It can fly at a speed of up to 36 kilometers per hour. A wasp moves at a speed of about 25 kilometers per hour. So the hornet is larger, has a longer stinger, stronger venom, injects more of it, and can catch up with you faster in flight. When you add all this up, you have to admit that comparing a wasp and a hornet is really like comparing a pocket knife and a machete. Both cut, but in a completely different league. So you already know what a hornet is in terms of its equipment, but that is only half the story. Because a hornet is not only a defensive organism that stings you when you step on it. A hornet is an active, effective, and incredibly efficient predator. It is a hunting machine that nature has been honing for millions of years. And when you see it in action, you will understand why the rest of the insects give it a wide berth. The European hornet hunts and hunts a lot. Its menu includes flies, mosquitoes, wasps, caterpillars, beetles, dragonflies, grasshoppers, and also bees. The hornet stands at the top of the food chain in the world of insects and behaves exactly as befits that top. When a hornet sets out to hunt, it does not use its stinger. The stinger is reserved for defense. For hunting, it uses its mandibles, which in the hornet are exceptionally strong and sharp. They can cut through the chitinous armor of a wasp in a fraction of a second. There are recordings where a hornet grabs a wasp by the torso. With one squeeze, it separates its head and wings and then carries the rest of the body back to the nest as food for the larva. The whole thing takes seconds. This is surgical precision combined with brutal force. And here, let us pause for a moment, because this is fascinating from a biological point of view. An adult hornet itself does not eat meat. Adult individuals feed mainly on nectar, tree sap, and sweet liquids. That is why in summer you meet them by fruit or by a glass of lemonade. But the larvae in the nest need protein to grow and develop. And that is exactly why adult hornets hunt, catch prey, chew it into a pulp, and bring this pulp to the larva. The larvae eat it and in return produce a sweet liquid that the adult hornets lick up. This is an excellent biological exchange system. Adults hunt for the larvae produce energy for the adults. The whole nest functions like one superorganism, where every element depends on the other and none could survive on its own. And now imagine how much one hornet nest can hunt per day. Estimates by entomologists say that one average nest of the European hornet which in summer can number several hundred individuals, can hunt and consume about 500 grams of insects in one day. Half a kilogram of insects per day is a huge number. Imagine that in practice. 500 grams of insects is hundreds and hundreds of flies, mosquitoes, caterpillars, and other small creatures. In a week, that is 3.5 kilograms. In a month, 15 kilograms. Over the whole season, which lasts roughly from May to October, one single hornet nest eliminates dozens of kilograms of insects. Dozens of kilograms. No chemical agent, no trap, no insect-killing lamp will achieve such effectiveness. And now the key question. Which insects? Mainly those that you yourself fear or that irritate you. Flies that land on your food. Mosquitoes that wake you at night with their buzzing and leave itchy bumps. Wasps that from August circle above your grilled meat and do not let you eat a single bite in peace. Caterpillars that eat your lettuce in the bed. Aphids that destroy your roses. The hornet hunts and eliminates all this in quantities that you would not be able to repeat with any insect-killing agent. And here we come to the fundamental paradox that is the core of today's film. Most people, when they see a hornet in their garden, immediately panic and start wondering how to get rid of it. Someone throws a slipper at it. Someone grabs insect spray. Someone calls a neighbor with a baseball bat. And I understand that, I really do. When you see a 3-centimeter buzzing creature with huge mandibles, your instinct tells you one thing: eliminate it. Except here's the twist. By killing the hornet, you are actually harming yourself. You are not helping yourself. You are harming yourself. Think about it for a moment. The hornet is the main predator that in your surroundings regulates the population of all those insects that torment you. Remove the hornet, and who will hunt those hundreds of flies and mosquitoes? Who will decimate the population of wasps that in September will not leave you in peace? Who will devour the caterpillars that destroy your garden? No one. Without the hornet, that population will explode. It is like removing wolves from the forest and then being surprised that deer ate all the young trees. The predator maintains balance, and the hornet is predator number one in the insect world of Central Europe. I know what some of you are thinking now. I understand perfectly. The hornet hunts insects, but what if it stings me? What if it stings my child? What if it stings my dog? This is a justified concern, and I am not going to downplay it. But here is another fact that most people do not know. The European hornet is in reality less aggressive than the wasp. Yes, you hear correctly. This huge, terrifying-looking hornet is calmer and more peacefully inclined than that small, annoying wasp that ruins your grills and picnics all summer. The wasp is an opportunistic scavenger. It is attracted to sweet drinks, meat, fruit, and basically everything you have on the table. That is why the wasp constantly gets into your food in the glass and on your lips. And when you shoo it away, it feels threatened and stings. The hornet behaves completely differently. The hornet is a hunter. It is interested in live prey, not your pork chop. The hornet at your food will usually not bother you because it is looking for flies and wasps, not potato salad. The hornet actively avoids humans and stings only when it feels directly threatened. That is when you catch it, step on it, crush it, or approach its nest. Do you understand what that means? It means that this giant that awakens primal fear in you is in everyday contact with humans gentler than that small wasp that you dismiss. And this is the key point. The nest. Hornets are extremely territorial when it comes to protecting the nest. Within a radius of roughly 2 to 3 meters from the nest, they are in the highest state of readiness. If in this zone you start behaving suspiciously, waving your hands, stomping, breathing heavily towards the nest, the hornets will assess it as an attack and attack. The reaction is quick, decisive, and collective. Outside this zone, however, they are surprisingly indifferent. A hornet flying next to you in the garden looking for prey will with the greatest probability completely ignore you. You have nothing it wants. You are not a fly, you are not a caterpillar, you are not a blooming linden tree, for you are only a large, boring obstacle in the landscape. That is all, nothing more. But what happens when you decide to act? What happens when you take that shoe, that spray, or that rolled up newspaper and kill the hornet? Here we come to the heart of this film, to the reason why I recorded it at all, because everyone needs to know this. When a hornet dies a violent death, when you crush it, squash it, or kill it in any other mechanical way, its body releases a cocktail of chemical substances that we call alarm pheromones. These are volatile chemical compounds that quickly spread in the air and carry one clear message. That message is, attention, danger, attack. These pheromones can be detected by every hornet within several dozen meters, and their reaction is immediate and aggressive. While a live hornet moving freely in the garden will, with the greatest probability, ignore you, a group of hornets that has detected alarm pheromones behaves completely differently. They switch to attack mode. They fly towards the source of the pheromones, that is, to the place where you killed that one hornet, and look for the threat. And that threat is you. Imagine this from the perspective of the hornet nest. You have a colony numbering several hundred individuals. One of your scouts set out to hunt, and suddenly a chemical signal comes back that says, "It was killed." In nature, this usually means that a predator is moving nearby that threatens the entire colony. Maybe a bird, maybe another insect, maybe a badger that is getting into the nest. Hornets have no ability to assess that it was only a nervous human with a newspaper. They cannot distinguish between a real predator and a panicked plot owner. For them, it is an attack on the colony, and they react according to the only protocol they know. A defensive wave flies out, dozens of workers ready to sting, and now they are no longer calm and indifferent. Now they are furious, aggressive, and deliberately looking for the source of the threat. This is exactly why entomologists and nature defenders constantly repeat one thing. Never, under any circumstances, kill a hornet near its nest. And if you do not know where the nest is, it is better not to kill a hornet at all. Because with that one dead individual, you have just sent an invitation to the whole colony to attack. One hornet that you killed so that it would be safer for you has just summoned 30 of its furious sisters. Ironic, right? And now, an even worse scenario. What if you decide to eliminate the entire nest yourself? I know that on the internet you will find hundreds of videos where someone at night approaches a hornet nest with a bag and tries to remove it, or pours gasoline on it, or sprays it with insect killer from a can. I tell you straight, this is one of the stupidest and most dangerous things you can do. A nest of the European hornet can, in summer, contain from 200 to 400 individuals, sometimes even more. All of them are equipped with a stinger that, as we said, is 6 millimeters long and can sting multiple times. Each of them carries a dose of venom that, by itself, causes significant pain and swelling. And when 30, 50, or 100 sting at once, we are talking about a condition requiring immediate medical attention. Even for a healthy adult without allergies, 50 or more stings can be life-threatening. The amount of venom that enters the bloodstream can cause kidney failure, breakdown of red blood cells, and in extreme cases, death. In Poland every year, cases are reported of people hospitalized after attempting to remove a hornet nest on their own. Some of them had dozens of stings all over their bodies. Regional media described the case of a man from the Subcarpathian region who tried to remove a nest from a tree in his garden. He received over 40 stings and spent 3 days in the hospital. Another case concerned a family that tried to flood the nest with water from a garden hose. The hornets reacted with a mass attack and stung not only the adults but also the children who were standing nearby. Emergency services had to treat 5 people. 5 people from one family ended up under medical care because someone decided that a garden hose was a sufficient tool against a colony of armed insects. These are not made-up stories. This happens every summer, and it happens because people do not appreciate what they are dealing with. And now, let us take a short break. If you like this film and are learning things you had no idea about, I have a proposal for you. Click subscribe and the bell so you do not miss any next episode of World Without a Filter. I am preparing films for you about animals that you meet every day, but about which, in reality, you know surprisingly little. Hornets are only the beginning. And now we return to the topic. We said that the hornet is a predator regulating the population of insects. We said that killing it attracts more hornets. We said that eliminating the nest on your own is dangerous nonsense. But there is one more argument that is talked about less, and which is absolutely key: the law. The European hornet Vespa crabro is in Poland a species under partial protection. It is listed on the list of protected species in accordance with the regulation of the Minister of the Environment on the Species Protection of Animals issued on the basis of the Nature Protection Act of the 16th of April, 2004. What does this mean in practice? It means that it is forbidden to intentionally kill hornets, catch them, disturb them, and destroy their nests. And this ban applies to everyone, private individuals, companies, and institutions. No one is exempt. If you kill a hornet or destroy its nest, you commit a violation of the Nature Protection Act, and the sanctions are not symbolic. For the intentional killing of a protected animal species or destruction of its habitat, the Regional Directorate for Environmental Protection may impose an administrative fine, and in more serious cases, the matter may go to court, where a fine, restriction of liberty, or even imprisonment is threatened. Fines for natural persons can reach several thousand zlotys, and for legal entities and entrepreneurs, the amounts are significantly higher. And that is not all. If you destroy a nest in an area that additionally has the status of a nature reserve, national park, or Natura 2000 area, the sanctions increase even more. I know that many people have no idea about this. I would say that most Poles are not even aware that the hornet is a protected species. They see it as a pest, as a threat, as something that needs to be eliminated. But the regulations clearly say the opposite. The regulations say that the hornet is a valuable part of nature and deserves protection. And why exactly is the hornet protected? Because its population has been declining in recent decades. There are several reasons. The loss of natural nesting sites, that is, old, hollow trees in which hornets traditionally build nests. In modern forestry and orchard growing, such trees are removed, and with them, natural habitats of hornets disappear. The use of pesticides in agriculture, which decimates insects in general, and thus the food base of hornets. The loss of old orchards and field tree stands in the landscape, which provided hornets with shelter and hunting grounds, and of course, the direct destruction of nests by people who have no idea that they are doing something illegal and ecologically harmful. The hornet is an indicator of a healthy landscape. Where hornets thrive, the ecosystem works properly. Where hornets disappear, it is a signal that something bad is happening in nature. It is a kind of barometer of ecological balance that cannot be replaced by any device. But you will immediately say, all this is beautiful. Law is law, ecology is ecology, but I have a hornet nest right in the ceiling of my house. What should I do? Should I leave it and risk that someone will sting me or my family? Of course not. Protection of hornets does not mean that you have to live in direct danger. The law also provides for such situations. If a hornet nest poses a direct danger to human health, you can apply for permission to remove it. But, and this is key, you have to do it correctly, legally, and with the help of a professional. And here we come to the last and most practical part of today's film. What to do when you meet a hornet, and what to do when you find a nest. Let us start with the most common scenario. You are sitting on the terrace sipping coffee, and suddenly a hornet flies next to you. What to do? Rule number 1. Do not move suddenly. Do not wave your hands, do not shoo it away, do not try to slap it. The hornet perceives sudden movements as a threat. Make the most splendid imitation of a statue that you can. Make yourself boring, make yourself invisible. Stay calm and let it fly by. In the vast majority of cases, the hornet will completely ignore you and fly off after its prey. Rule number 2. Do not blow on it. This is something that surprises many people. The carbon dioxide you exhale irritates hornets. In high concentration, they perceive it as a signal of the presence of a large living creature in immediate proximity, and it may provoke them to defend. So if a hornet lands on your hand or on your clothes, which sometimes happens, do not blow on it. I know that instinct tells you something else. I know that every cell in your body is screaming for you to blow this creature as far away as possible, but do not do it. Remain motionless and wait until it flies away on its own. Alternatively, very slowly and gently, brush it off with a piece of paper or cardboard. Slowly, gently, without panic. Rule number 3. Do not kill it. We have already explained this, but I will repeat it because it is key. Killing a hornet in open space is unnecessary, illegal, and potentially dangerous. Unnecessary because one hornet flying next to you does not pose any real threat. Illegal because the hornet is a protected species, and dangerous because a dead hornet releases pheromones that attract others.
3 reasons. None of them speaks in favor of killing.
Rule number 4. If despite everything the hornet stings you, stay calm. The sting is painful, I do not deny that, but for a healthy adult without allergy to insect venom, One hornet sting does not threaten life. Cool the site of the sting with ice or a cold compress, disinfect the wound. If you have an antihistamine gel or cream at hand, use it. The pain and swelling should subside within 1 to 2 days. However, if after the sting symptoms of an anaphylactic reaction appear, that is difficulty breathing, swelling of the face or tongue, dizziness, a sudden drop in blood pressure, or a rash all over the body, immediately call emergency services at 112. Anaphylactic shock is a condition that can develop within minutes, and without treatment can be fatal. If you know that you are allergic to insect venom, always carry with you the adrenaline auto-injector that your doctor prescribed for you. This is not an option. This is not a recommendation. This is a necessity that can save your life. And now the big scenario. What to do when you find a hornet nest on your property? First, take a deep breath and let the panic subside. A hornet nest looks terrifying. I admit that without hesitation. It is a paper ball, sometimes as big as a soccer ball, sometimes even bigger, and from its opening, dozens of hornets constantly fly in and out. A sight that can speed up the pulse even of the most composed person. But the mere presence of a nest on your property does not automatically mean catastrophe. The fundamental question is, where exactly is the nest, and how much does it disturb you in everyday life? If the nest is high in a tree, at the end of the garden, where you practically do not go, the recommendation of specialists is unequivocal. Leave it alone. The nest is active for only one season. In autumn, usually in October or November, the colony naturally dies off. Old workers and the queen die. Only young, fertilized queens overwinter, which leave the nest and bury themselves in the ground or hide under bark. In spring, they establish a new nest, but they never return to the old one. Never. This is important information. A hornet nest is one-time use, so if you leave the nest alone, in autumn it will empty itself, and you can remove it without any risk. It will be an empty paper structure, light, fragile, and completely harmless. But what if the nest is in a place that really bothers you? In the attic, right above the bedroom, in a roller shutter box, in a suspended ceiling, in a garden shed that you have to visit regularly. In such situations, call a professional. And I do not mean a pest control operator who will come with a canister of poison. I mean a specialist in relocating hornet nests or the local Nature Protection Authority. In every county and in every municipality, there is a regional directorate for environmental protection or an environmental protection department that will advise you on how to proceed. In many cases, they will indicate a specific professional who will either carefully move the nest to another place or, if it is not technically possible, will take care of its removal on the basis of an appropriate permit. This is the legal, safe, and responsible path. Calling a specialist is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of common sense. This person has a protective suit, has experience, has equipment, and knows exactly what he is doing. You stand at a safe distance and watch. He does the work for you, safely, legally, and with minimal impact on nature. For this service, you will usually pay several hundred zlotys, which is a ridiculous price compared to hospitalization after 50 stings. Calculate it in your head. Several hundred zlotys for peace of mind, or a few days in the hospital, an IV, and 10,000 zlotys for treatment. The choice seems obvious. And by the way, there is one more curiosity that many people do not know. Hornets are creatures active also at night, unlike wasps, which after dark practically stop flying. Hornets are attracted to light, similarly to moths. So if in summer you have a lit terrace and a wide open window, it may happen that a hornet flies into the apartment, attracted by the light of the lamp. In such a situation, do not panic. Turn off the indoor light and turn on the lamp outside. The hornet will fly after the light and leave on its own. Alternatively, open the window, turn off the light in the room, and guide it with a flashlight. It is a matter of patience, not brute force. Give it 5 minutes. Give it a path of light to the exit, and it will use it itself. And do you know what fascinates me most about hornets? Probably their social structure and building craftsmanship the most. The nest of the European hornet is an architectural wonder of nature. Hornets build it from wood. They literally gnaw bark from trees and old wood, mix it with saliva, and create a paper mass from which they model perfect hexagonal cells. Yes, exactly the same hexagonal pattern that we know from honeycombs. The hexagon is geometrically the most efficient shape for filling space with minimal material consumption. Humans discovered this with mathematics. Hornets have known it for millions of years. Except the hornet does not use wax like a bee. It uses paper that it produces itself. And the result is amazing. The resulting structure is incredibly durable and light at the same time. The nest has several floors, between which there are air spaces acting as thermal insulation. Hornets inside the nest actively regulate the temperature. On hot days, they flap their wings to create airflow, creating natural ventilation. On cold nights, they huddle close together to warm the interior with their metabolic heat. This is a refined air conditioning system that humanity discovered only millions of years later. We install air conditioners on building walls and consider it the pinnacle of technology, and the hornet does the same with its little wings and a paper wall. The queen establishes the nest in spring completely alone. After overwintering, usually in April, she comes out of her hiding place, finds a suitable place, and starts building the first cells. All by herself without anyone's help. She lays the first eggs herself and feeds the first larva herself. Imagine this lonely queen who, from nothing, from a piece of old bark and a bit of saliva, creates the seed of an entire city. Only when the first generation of workers hatches from the first eggs does the queen withdraw to the interior and occupy herself exclusively with laying eggs. From that moment, the workers take over all the work. They build further cells, hunt for food, feed the larva, defend the nest, regulate the temperature. Each knows what to do. None waits for instructions. The queen is the heart of the colony, but the workers are its hands, legs, and wings. This community, this division of labor, this coordination without a single spoken word, only through pheromones and tactile signals, works with precision that would embarrass not one human organization. Think about it. Hundreds of individuals working in perfect harmony, without managers, without meetings, without emails, without conflicts, only chemistry and touch, and everything functions like clockwork. I will now ask you a question. If you knew that in your garden lives a creature that every day eliminates hundreds of flies and mosquitoes, that controls the population of wasps, that helps you protect crops from caterpillars, that is a fascinating example of natural engineering and that will leave you alone if you leave it alone. Would you really want to eliminate it? I bet that most of you would say no, and that is exactly what a hornet is. I personally changed my attitude towards hornets a few years ago when I had a nest right under the roof of my garden gazebo. The first reaction was exactly what you would expect: panic and a desire for immediate elimination. Heart in my throat, phone in hand, finger over the number to the pest controller. But then I stopped. I started looking for information about hornets, and gradually it dawned on me how wrongly I had thought about them my whole life. How much I had let myself be carried away by stereotypes that had been repeated to me since childhood. That nest stayed there the whole summer, and do you know what happened? I had the calmest summer I remember. Almost no flies at meals. A minimum of mosquitoes on evening gatherings. And wasps. There were so few wasps that I even noticed it, because the hornets were hunting them. They literally cleaned my garden of everything that had irritated me for years. And throughout the whole summer, not a single one stung me, because I respected their space and they respected mine. We lived next to each other like neighbors who do not know each other, but do not get in each other's way.